Hi everybody, welcome to week 3 of your EBP course. I know this week has been a bit tough with refining your PICO questions and submitting to assignments, and we still have an opportunity for a bit of refining if needed, and I'll try to provide you with helpful feedback on those 2 assignments that you turned in. So this week, for our assignment, we're going to be building on your initial reference list. Okay, so you'll now be digging into your reference lists instead of just a list. Now you're going to be appraising those articles and those studies. You need to narrow down your references, or maybe add to your references, to those that address your problem directly and that are good quality studies, right? You're going to be appraising them, because we need good quality of studies to implement an evidence-based practice, right? Okay, the actual research table that you'll use for this assignment, that you'll be using to organize your work, will not be submitted, okay? But you're going to have to turn it in at the end as an appendix. So I would suggest, as you are analyzing these articles, that you just go ahead and fill in that research table so that you'll have it all ready at the end. And what you'll actually be doing is writing about how these articles support or provide evidence for your evidence-based practice, right? So please carefully follow the directions. They're really quite explicit. And so you'll need to provide some in-depth analysis while also being concise, because again, we have a word limit. And this is what researchers do when they're going to be submitting an article about their research, right? They have their literature review section, and they need to get across to the reader why that literature review supports them doing their research. So here you are saying why your review of the literature and evidence supports your practice that you want to implement. Okay, so that's the reason for providing enough detail, but also being a bit concise. Please note, there is a section that asks you about validity of internal and external research, even though you're not going to have both of those in your research list. You're not going to have internal evidence that you're drawing on, right? But you need to talk about that within your narrative. Okay, the rubric for this assignment is quite descriptive and inclusive, and so I would use it as a checklist to make sure you've covered all those points. I do want to kind of talk to you about one thing. Some of my students will ask me questions about the assignment. I have no problem you ask me any questions about EBP, your project. I've been trying to answer the questions in your individual and questions to the instructor forums. But at this point in your program, having already taken a research course, I'm not going to be answering questions about terminology, okay? Terminology in an assignment like qualitative, quantitative, validity, reliability, those types of terms. And I'm not going to answer questions about terminology in your articles, because like I said, you already have a research course, and you've got your EBP book, you've got your research text, you've got the internet. You can do this. So ask me any questions you want about your project, but just not about terminology, okay? All right, so I am excited. Now, you've just turned in your papers. There's 20 of you, so that means I have 40 papers to score, okay? I'm going to try to get those back to you as soon as possible, so you will have information that maybe is critical to this assignment for this week. I am going to do my best. It just depends how much feedback people need on those first 2 assignments, but I will try to get them back to you as soon as possible. All right, now on to our discussion questions. In the first one, we're looking at levels of evidence for both qualitative and quantitative research studies. And then for the second discussion question, we are specifically focusing on analyzing quantitative studies. Okay? These are both fairly straightforward questions. They tend to be somewhat factual. And so I'm also going to throw in an additional class question to help with our discussion for this week. And this might have been something that you discussed a little bit in your research course, but sometimes researchers will combine a quantitative and a qualitative approach or component into one study, okay? Mixed methods study, right? So there are pros and cons to doing that. So if you could identify one pro and one con, that is the class question from me for this week. Okay, I think that's about it. Good luck with your projects. I love the topics that you are addressing. I think they're all very relevant to practice, and I think you did a nice job with coming up with them. So good luck with those. And as usual, I'll see you in the main forum.